All right. I think we're live. What's going on, everyone? It's been a while. Welcome in. First comment outlet, big dubs, the whole gang. What's up? What's up? 28 people in the chat just tweeted this out, just sent this out in Telegram. And yeah, welcome in, everyone. There's a good amount of developments to talk about, so we're going to cover that. I think I haven't gone live since I mean, obviously, I do the weekly Sunday staker show with the guys, but an actual one-on-one live stream with just me and you, it's been a minute. Let's say what's up to the chat. What's up, Buffo on the beat? Hex Mackenzie, love the graphics. What's going on? Tex Hex, Arctic Horizons, Godfather J6, Grav. We got Anthony, yo, hello, Hex Sparky. How cool is that single-sided PLSX staking, says Buffon. That's pretty cool, yeah. You get Pulse Reward Token, aka PRT, as a yield token. Been a while, bro. Good to see you solo again. G, says EO2 Davis. It has been a while. What's up, Minty Guy? Missed you. Hex Mackenzie, Pete, Doug. Get your bags. Adzi, what's up, everyone? Just want to give a shout out to the best crypto community out there. First time catching you live, says Bet. Good to have you. Good to see you, Daniel. How the hell to buy Hex now? Gas fee, says Pete Stab. Well, you either save up and the purchase you make, the size of it is significant enough to where the fee is small relative to the size of it. So you save up to make a big purchase, or you just wait until Pulse launches. But then again, the downside to waiting is you could have gotten a duplicate on PulseChain. So you could argue your fees are half. You're getting double the coins is what I'm getting at if you get your Hex now. G-Dog in the house. Shoo. Welcome back. Stocks are just ticker symbols with unlimited. Okay, going hard. Bit finesse. Stocks are just ticker symbols with unlimited counterparty risk, loosely related to a group of people who may or may not share some of their profits with your broke ass. Not wrong. True. Richard just tweeted. Yeah, and I will actually get to that if you're referring to the new little burn tab in PulseX. And by the way, there's a hidden tab inside of the PulseX interface that I don't think anyone has talked about. I don't think any of these streamers have even found it. I found it just because of memory of something that should be there, and then trying a few different subfolders, and boom, found it. So I'll share that with you guys, but don't want to blabber on too much. It's already been 3 minutes. Let's get right into it. Good morning, everyone. What's up? Okay, so let me share screen window. I think it's this window. Let's try that. Can you guys see that? You can see that. Awesome. Is that better? I think that's good for now. Okay. So let's look at this. Let's first talk about Bitcoin, right? Who cares about Bitcoin? Well, it leads the market in liquidity, and you could argue that when there's a risk on event or a risk off event in terms of global geopolitics, which I will not get into, there are people in our community who do a great job at getting into that, but that's not what you come to this stream for. You come here mainly for charts and technicals, just logic, right? So we'll look at Bitcoin because it leads the crypto markets in liquidity, and we look at the interaction of price relative to key moving averages, namely the 20-week, 21-week EMA, and the 50-week MA, right? So 20-week MA, 21-week EMA, and 50-week MA. Reason being, those are all significant in denoting bearish or in delineating bullish or bearish sentiments in the overall market. And you can see that most recently with this run up where we were beneath it, but with this current run up, this recent run up, we came up above it, and it looks like we might want to hold support. Already came back down beneath the 50-week a little bit. Let's see where they're sitting around 44, 45K. But if we look at Ethereum, right, it's doing a similar thing. It's sitting above them, just beneath one of them. What do we look at on Bitcoin? Similar, above most of them, just beneath one of them right now. And that candle hasn't even closed. Excuse me. Reason being, if you look at where HEX is relative to those, because it has been correlated to the market recently, if we're just being real, if you look at the shape of the charts, it's been following more or less BTC and ETH in a more leveraged way. Sometimes lags a little bit too. Sometimes leads the market. Lately, it seems like it's been leading the market, but sometimes it lags too, right? Like it had its local peak after BTC and ETH, but it had its local bottom, I think, before. I'd have to double check on that for you, but it kind of does this weird offset thing whenever it wants. What I'm getting at is that it's still beneath all of these key moving averages, which I would argue are kind of acting as a magnet right now. If we want to look at the performance of HEX, I think it could still catch up to BTC and ETH and reach these 18-cent levels at the least during this bounce, right? This bounce reached 16 cents so far. I would argue it still has legs to go even farther, because here's my argument. Even if you're bearish and you think, well, we're just forming a you think we're just forming a lower high relative to this 36-cent peak end of last year. Well, you still have a room to go. You still have a room to go, even if you think 36 cents is our resistance, right? We could go to 30 cents and still have a macro bull flag, but then you could say that's a local peak and we're coming back down to, and at that point, that's when you ask yourself, do we form a higher low? Do we do a double bottom, or do we do a lower low and just have a massive yearly bull flag? We don't know, right? It's impossible to predict, but all I can say is that a lot of our indicators are pretty much the most oversold they've ever been. Now, what else can we look at? We can zoom in and just look at the 20-day, or just the 20 period moving average on a daily or even on a 3-day. I like to look at the 1 day specifically for that bullish divergence that I saw a while back, and I pointed it out on the Staker Sunday show. I think it was last week or the week before that, before it even played out. I think we were around 11 or 12 cents, and I said, look, we have this daily bullish divergence. I think I pointed it out on the 12-hour, but if you'd been paying attention, it first formed on the 12-hour and then on the daily, and if you zoom out, it actually kept going, and then on the 2-day time frame, you have that bullish divergence play out to denote that 10.6 local bottom before this current run up. So this current run up was almost obvious, right? You were oversold, you had bullish divergences, you were far extended beneath key moving averages. You could have, it was easy to say at least a bounce is coming, right? And this looked really, really similar, this formation, to what we've seen back here, for example, in August, September of 2020, and even around big payday, November of 2020. I'm talking about the RSI formations. Even recently, right? Q4 of last year, these two local bottoms, the 16 cent down to 13 cent ish, was also denoted by a 2-day bullish divergence. So if you just pay attention and zoom out to different time frames, the longer the time frame, the better, arguably. Then you see these patterns play out and things become a little easier to see, maybe not to predict, but at least to study in retrospect and be like, oh, that makes sense that happened, right? A bounce was incoming. So I like what I'm seeing, right? I think I pointed this out on the Staker show last Sunday, but just getting above this sort of moving average band and then going flat, like similar to what we saw again last September of 2020. We had bullish divergence on these minima. We came up above these moving averages, then we went sideways above them before a rally. Even similarly back here, every time we've gone beneath them and come back up and gone sideways, it's been rally. Beneath them, above, sideways, rally, beneath the averages, above. And again, it comes back down to them a little bit, just goes sideways more or less, rally. Again, over here, it was a little different, right? We came above it, a little beneath it, sideways, still rally. Every time we came back down to them, it was more or less our support until we broke it decisively. Resistance, fake out, resistance, resistance. Now, is this a fake out? It could be, right? We've had one fake out over here, but for the most part, even though this was a fake out, we still did what, a 2x above these moving averages. So you could argue, even if you're bearish, even if you think this is a fake pump, whatever that means, you could argue we could still go to like 28 cents, for example, and then we'll see what happens, right? But the fact that we're going sideways, I think is cool. I think it's fine, and there are a lot of positive externalities incoming, like PulseChain Mainnet, which we'll talk about. But first, I need to get to the chat. Let's see. I'll drink some water, answer some chat, and then get to the next segment. Party on G, good to catch you live. Yo, smash like. Yep. Shout out to you. Thank you. We'll also talk about Mintra, HEX, Mackenzie. What's up? Ooh, the validator tab. That's a good one too. Yeah. We'll talk about delegating Pulse, sure. Yeah, we'll talk about this too, the burn feature that Richard posted. Very cool. We have Cypress going bearish, 7 cents. All right, man. Well, I mean, look, it could happen. And it's how do I put this? What did I just point out? We could see higher levels in the short to midterm, right? 28 cents, but you're right. Even if we did see a higher low, if you're a bear like Cypress is, well, you could test, again, these lower levels, for example, the 7 cent region, and you could, for example, form this macro bull flag still. So I would still say that's bullish in the long term, and it'd provide an incredible buying opportunity. In my opinion, I'm assuming you are putting that level out there because you think it's the bottom and not just the cross through. So, I mean, we already hit 10 cents. So what, 30% within that? Pretty close. Someone says, I like my Mintra drop. We'll talk about that. So yeah, let's talk about the next portion. So let's see, we talked about HEX. LookIntoHex, our favorite quantitative and statistical site for HEX charts in the world, has had some new updates. So it used to be HEX versus ETH versus BTC, but I realized something really cool was that you could toggle between the which asset charts were on or off, right? And so you can have HEX versus ETH or HEX versus BTC or just even ETH versus BTC, which is weird because you're on LookIntoHex.com. But that kind of removed the need completely for the HEX versus ETH solo tab or the HEX versus BTC solo tab, because it was all merged into this ability to toggle charts on and off. And so not only was that a huge update to the website, but we added a ton of different assets now. So you can turn them all on and off as you wish, but I thought these coins have big enough communities to where if the argument is ROI, well, look, now you have a tool, ROI from launch of each individual coin, or ROI since the launch of HEX, arguably the beginning of this cycle. So you could call the second chart ROI during the current crypto cycle. And this top one, just zoom out for years ROI from launch. So other than this SHIB chart here, which I actually need to confirm because we're only pulling from Nomics and I need to confirm across multiple data sources to see if this is actually right. I mean, it could be right actually. Yeah, it could be right because this actually looks similar to HEX ROI from all-time low, right? And that just says that SHIB had its dips after launching as opposed to a coin like HEX, which had a huge dip right after launch. So that'll skew this data. Interesting to point out though. Again, this is just unbiased data. So you have HEX versus ETH versus BTC, your typical one, and you can turn these on and off. You have ADA, BNB, Doge, Hedron, Matic, SHIB, and Solana. So again, you can just turn all of them off if you want and have your original, your classic HEX versus ETH versus BTC, which if you look at it, we're still doing pretty good. We're still overperforming, still outperforming these historic runs. ETH 200x, Bitcoin 140x, HEX about 300x. And from here, both of these coins, rallied a little bit from here. Bitcoin did a nice little 10x, not bad, a little more. And Ethereum did a nice little, 3x from here, not bad. So now we'll see what HEX does, right? Not only short-term, mid-term, but obviously in the long term. Something interesting that someone pointed out in the LookIntoHex Telegram chat is if you toggle on a bunch of these blue chips, a lot of the coins that have big communities, HEX, Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, pretty big community. Let's look at, what was it? Matic was a good one. and I'm picking these specifically. Solana, if you look at these, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 charts. If you look at these 6 charts, you notice that around the 800-day mark, there's consolidation, or rather, not consolidation, but yeah, consolidation, and convergence is the more important term here of all of these ROI charts. I'll move the cursor so you can better see it. I don't know how well you can see that, but around that region, you see this convergence before all of these coins, more or less, either we still need to see what they do, or Bitcoin launched off another few hundred X from there. Almost 1,000X, actually. Let's see. Bitcoin going from about roughly 100X launch to about 11,000X. So yeah, over 100X from here, Bitcoin anyways. And BNB, same, roughly 100X from where ROI was around here. It went sideways, more or less. This is a bear market, and then it just launched off. So, and then same with Ethereum, right? Given the horizontal offset, there was this huge bear market here, but nonetheless, it still proceeded to go up another, 20X or so. So 20X, 100X, these are big numbers, and it depends, right? You zoom out a year, 2 years, 3 years, these things take time. And then again, you can zoom out to just this cycle, or rather zoom in to just this cycle to see how HEX performed since HEX launched. Since HEX came out, it looks like it just came to win, with the exception again of SHIB, which already had massive gains and already has a massive community. Again, you turn that on and you're just like, all right, it looks like it's already maybe at a higher level of adoption, maybe later on within its S curve, if you talk that kind of lingo. But with the exception of that, it looks like HEX was the top performer, right? With the exception of SHIB. If you look at this cycle, you have SHIB here sitting at almost 2000X. You have HEX at about 300X. Beneath that, you have Matic at 220X, and then Sol at 200X. And you go all the way down to Bitcoin at about 6X. And even Hedron, right, up 30%. But Hedron is so new that, you have no idea what it's going to do. But a lot of these early charts provide some insight, right? You see a similar formation on Hedron, huge dip at the start, huge run up, back down to break even, more or less. Similar on the HEX chart, you have this huge dip, almost like a cup and handle, huge run up, back down, run up. Even here on the SHIB chart, you have this run up, almost like these bull flags, basically just a series of bull flags. So I mean, Hedron looks good, not gonna lie. So those are the updates on LookIntoHex. One more update is the ROI from all-time low charts. You're able to, again, toggle on and off, completely removing the need to have 4 separate charts, because the only need for having 4 separate charts previously was to distinguish the combinations, right? But if you can toggle on and off, then you can do all combinations within one chart. So for example, one of the charts was ROI after staking. And so you had this just running ROI and max ROI. Boom, you can have it on this chart now by just untoggling the after staking tabs or the after staking curves. You could do before staking, right, to see your running and your max. Cool. Then you could do just your maxes, right, before and after staking, or you could do just your running ROIs before and after staking. I think this is one of the ones that people could use, just this yellow in the screen chart, to help distinguish the gap between non-stakers and stakers, and how that gap actually grows over time, but how these charts are more or less the same charts with a slight multiplier offset. And again, that multiplier grows over time because it's correlated to the share rate. So again, these curves are more or less the same curve until, some time has passed and stakers start yielding rewards. And you can see here during big payday, the gap grew a lot because that's when stakers got a bunch of inflation, a huge slice of that. And then again, the gap just grows over time, but it's more or less the same chart. So let's see, let's get back to the chat for a little bit. Nice. Freedom for all. Love this as Dingo Wolf. I appreciate it. Glad you like. Nice addition to the ROI chart. You know, I think it'll help onboard people from different communities, like these different coins. A good example of that. I mean, just look at the tweet, right? The tweet on the LookIntoHex account was those charts, and you know, you get to use these hashtags, hashtag ADA, SHIB, Doge, BNB, all these hashtags, and hopefully they see it, and because now you're using their chart. You're kind of rubbing the fact that your chart is beating their chart, but at least you're using their chart, so you're nudging them. You know, you're nudging the, I guess not the competition, because most people in crypto, whether they know it or not, whether they're guided the right way or not, most people in crypto want the same thing, I would say, fundamentally. That's a whole other topic. Let me get to the chat real quick. Don't want to go off on a tangent there. I missed the now what videos every other day, one new all-time high. That was great. You have to do that again on the next rip. I remember that. For those of you who don't know what Desk Crypto is talking about, I was basically making like a 10-cent hex, now what? 20-cent hex, now what? Series, because hex are just ripping a few cents per day. Great stream. Glad I sacked for Mintra, Davis. Glad to have you. Hello, fam. Like the new charts. Yeah, so go to lookintohex.com. Go to the /ROI to see this stuff, right? And compare to, you know, your SHIB Army guys, your Solana dudes, whatever. So you can compare ROIs, you know, measure. You can go to /max ROI to show basically this, the gap between stakers and non-stakers, or sort of the maximum profit anyone has ever made before or after staking. And yeah, go to lookintohex.com, check it out. We're actually going to add something really, really cool. I should just talk about it. Might as well, because we're covering a lot of new things during the stream. So I'm starting to get the beginnings. I don't want to beat around the bush, right? I have a dev to do the front end for the LookIntoHex HEX staking UI. So that's exciting. So UI is the first thing. Might take them a week to get the CSS code ready. And from there, we can pass it on to someone who can connect the buttons to the HEX contract. And it'll just be that, another front end. So more decentralization to HEX, right? If one front end goes down, you have all these other front ends. So hopefully in the future, lookintohex.com/stake will be a place where you have legit HEX front end for staking. And again, I've been talking about this, and it's taken a while to find the people who can actually do this, but it's looking like it could be a reality sooner than I'd originally thought. So that's really, really cool. Just wanted to update you guys on that. Let's move on to some fun stuff. Let's look at PulseX. You guys check this out. So this is on the PulseChain 2B testnet. So version 2B. We've had a version 1, version 2. This is version 2B. We may or may not have a version 3 before mainnet is released. But PulseX is basically Uniswap. It's basically the Uniswap PulseChain, similar to Uniswap on Ethereum, or you can say it's similar to PancakeSwap on Binance Smart Chain. So what does it do? Well, it depends, right? Uniswap, you can swap. Cool. On PancakeSwap, you can swap too. Oh, and you can provide liquidity on both of these. PancakeSwap has some other features too, like yield farming and whatnot, which Uniswap doesn't have. So let's just do that stuff, right? So you have PulseX and you can do cool things. You can swap, you can add liquidity or remove liquidity on these different pairs, and you can yield farm. So you can either single asset stake in these pools, which give you a different token, or you can farm, which is basically first adding liquidity on a pair over here, and then staking that liquidity in a farm. When you provide liquidity, you just earn fees. When you stake that LP in a farm, you earn those fees plus a new incentive token. So these farms and these pools give you new tokens, right? These new yield tokens. And then you also have your info. So your instance where you can see all of the cool stats on different coins, pools, pairs, TVL, liquidity, volume, all that good stuff, real-time swaps, liquidity adds, removes, all that cool stuff. So I'm using a dud account, fresh, empty, whatever. So it doesn't have any pulse in it whatsoever. As you can see here, balance zero, balance zero. So we're gonna go to PulseChain.com and you can see that the Pulse testnet is live and you see all of the relevant links and information. So for example, these first 4 little blocks of info allow you to connect to the correct test network on your MetaMask. And it gives you directions here. I've already gone ahead and done this. If you haven't, there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube on how to do this. Certain influencers have made these, or you can just follow on-screen instructions. You should have your MetaMask and connect to the appropriate network, right? You scroll to custom network. Information is here. Directions are here. And so you go to a faucet. I'm going to go to the faucet because, again, this is a fresh MetaMask account. It doesn't have any coins whatsoever. So you just request. Cool. This green thing looks promising. I'm assuming some test pulse is on its way. So we're gonna just, hang out here. Look at that, 3 seconds. So PulseChain is 3-second blocks. And I don't know if you can see here, but we have 10 pulse now. Very cool. So what does 1 pulse give us in terms of PulseX? 2.5. Not a bad ratio. It's okay. So let's swap, let's say 2, right? We'll swap 2 pulse and we'll get 5 PulseX. Sure, why not? So swap, price impact, pretty good. A tiny liquidity provider fee, pretty good. Confirm. Cool. Close. So your balance, cool. Now my pulse balance is 8 and my PulseX balance is 5. I'm happy with that ratio. So cool. So I just did a swap. What else can you do on this decentralized exchange known as PulseX? You can provide liquidity. So now I have 2 different coins. And that's important because to provide liquidity, you need a pair of coins. Cool, I have a pair of coins. So let's add some liquidity and find repair. That pair that I have currently is Pulse, and I swap some of that for some PulseX. And if you want coins that aren't on here, you can paste the address, the contract address of the coin you want, and import a custom token. So let's see, how much liquidity can we provide? Can we do this? No, we don't have enough of that. So 2, oh, right. So we had 2 and 5. So we'll have to do less. Let's provide 5 PulseX of liquidity and 1.97 pulse. All right. That's most of our stack of PulseX, but that's okay. We can always get more. So we'll confirm. Oh, we had to enable the pool first. So give the contract permission to be interacted with. And then you actually do this. So wait for that. Cool. So now we're actually doing this. We're getting some PulseX pool tokens. So this is these are basically receipts, right? These LP tokens are basically given to you as a receipt that you provided a certain amount of coins at a certain ratio. And so we'll say okay and wait. Very cool. So we have our green receipt, which is nice. The receipt here, this little notification is usually red if something went wrong, and it even gives you a little link here to go check out your transaction on the Block Explorer, which I will say the Block Explorer is not up to date all the time, so beware of that, right? And this is a test net, so these values are just, any value relative to, say, USDC is just a test value. So for example, how much is 1 PLS on testnet here? 0.00269. Not bad. That's about a 27x from launch. Cool. And so I'm guessing PulseX, about a 10x from launch, given that ratio. So, okay, now what? We provided liquidity. Let's go back here. We can see our PulseX liquidity position sitting here, the size of our position. Cool. So now what can we do? Well, we swapped, we provided liquidity. Remember, you could go to this farms tab. What is this? Well, this is if liquidity providers want to go that extra mile. Because if we just look at the liquidity I provided, this is earning me fees relative to my share of the pool, right? The size of my stack of the pair I provided relative to the entire pool, as well as the amount of volume that actually comes through that pool and is traded, right? Like I just swapped earlier. So anyone who comes in to swap in the future pays a tiny liquidity provider fee. I don't know if you noticed, but for example, if you swap 2 PulseX for 5 Pulse, or excuse me, if you swap 2 Pulse for 5 PulseX like I did earlier, I paid a small liquidity provider fee of 0.0058 Pulse. And so that goes into here, right? This the rewards for people who provide liquidity. Not to get too confusing, what can you do with your liquidity? Well, you can just sit there and earn fees. Cool. So I could just stop here, but if I want to take it that extra mile, I check to see if my LP pair is also a farm here, because we actually only have 3 farms currently available, and that's the PulseX Pulse pool. So the PLSX Pulse pool. Cool. I have that liquidity pair. You have the Pulse USDC pool and the PRT PLS pool. So we're going to enable this one all the way on the left because that is the one we have. Going to hit confirm. That was quick. Okay. Gotta love these 3-second blocks. And now you see, once you've enabled a contract, stake LP becomes available. So let's see if it pops up. Yep, my liquidity provider position in the PLSX pool shows up here. So let's just stake the maximum position. So that will be awesome. So we're going to get, apparently, this says 16% APR, which changes, by the way, every day. Every moment this is changing. But we'll get a better idea of the numbers here. I guess I'll just close that. Just sit here. It'll probably pop up here once the UI responds. You have your 3-second blocks, sure, but you also have the PulseX UI trying to interact. Cool, staked. Your funds have been staked in the farm. Again, these really nice Pulse Scan Block Explorer receipts and links can send you over if you want to make sure everything's good. And again, these APRs depend, I believe, on the size of the pool, right? Like the liquidity in them. $320 million. Again, these are test values staked in here. 16% APY. Roughly 4x less liquidity, so roughly 4x more APR. And then here it's about 10x off in liquidity and about 5x off in APR. Interesting. So there might be some sort of diminishing returns in the correlation between decreased liquidity and increased APR. We'll see, right? We'll see when Mainnet is actually live. Point being, I don't want to go on one of these tangents. What did we do? We went on PulseX. Well, first, we actually went to the PulseChain faucet, got some free PLS, exchanged some of that PLS for PLSX. Now we have 2 coins. We have a pair. We provided liquidity in that pair. And then we went to the farm, enabled this contract, took that liquidity pair, staked it. And now what? Not only are we earning fees as a simple liquidity provider would, but now we're earning this incentive token. Now our position is so small, it's literally a 1 penny position. So we won't be earning much incentive token over time, but you can see now that this harvest button has turned green and has appeared, which allows you to, will turn green and allows you to actually harvest any incentive token that you've accumulated up to that point. And you can remove your liquidity with a minus sign. You can remove all of it or remove just, an arbitrary amount of it. And same with adding liquidity, you can you can add an arbitrary amount to it. And a fun fact is when you add or you remove liquidity to your position, you also simultaneously pull all of your rewards in that moment. And it sort of resets the ink earned. So we've done almost everything here. What else can we do? One more tab, pools. So this is a single asset staking pool. So remember, with farms, you need a pair, provide liquidity, and then you stake that LP position in the farm. So being a liquidity provider or being, a farmer, I guess, requires a pair. But if you just want a single asset stake, it should be self-explanatory, right? It's you stake a single asset. And so if you look at pools, the only asset that you can currently stake is PLSX. You stake PLSX and you earn other tokens. PRT is one of the tokens, or it's the only token for now. So, all right, let's get ourselves some PLSX because we pretty much spent our entire stack just right on the liquidity provision and staking that LP. So let's go ahead and get some more. Gotta love it, right? Did it work? Did I hit swap? Or did I hit some enable? Or oh, see a red transaction receipt. So it didn't go through. Let's try that again. Maybe the price changed on us during that. Save, confirm. There we go. So it went through, cool, green, and you can see we have our 5 PulseX here, cool. So now let's go to our pools and stake some PulseX and earn PRT. So again, similar to before, we have to enable every individual pool. That was quick. So we'll enable this pool to stake our PulseX and earn PRT. And with that, hit the stake button, hit max. So about 5 PulseX, cool. And you have this maximum amount of PulseX you can stake. So 10 million PulseX, which at the sacrifice rate was about $1,000, right? You could have gotten this much for about $1,000. Who knows what it'll be in the future, but let's stake about a penny worth of PulseX. Confirm. They have a nice little get PulseX if you don't have any. Nice. Probably sends you over just the swap feature. Transaction submitted. And now we wait. And I'll get to the chat shortly. It's been a good 10 minutes probably. Cool. Staked. Your PLSX funds have been staked in the pool. Allegedly 42% APR. And they have this little calculator, which let's say you have 1,000 USD of PulseX staked over 1 year. You'll get, $521. Not bad. Let's say you had 100 grand stakes. Then you would get 50 grand. That's pretty good, right? 50% APY. Pretty good. Obviously, you'd be getting APY in a volatile token, aka PRT. You have no idea what that's going to be. So you're getting PRT. That's what's the word? Deterministic. But the price of PRT is non-deterministic. Cool. So we've done everything. We've used the faucet, the pulse faucet, swap pulse for PulseX, provide liquidity, stake that LP in the farm, and also use some of our PulseX to single asset stake to earn PRT. Have we earned any ink? Nope. Haven't earned any PRT either. But if you look here, this was just added. Now you have a burn tab and an info tab. So the info tab is cool. It shows you the total liquidity across the entire DEX, right? 667 million. And you see a time series from the launch of the DEX. Total liquidity was just 15 mil, 5 mil, double-digit millions, up into hundreds of millions, peaked at $1 billion, came back down to $500 million, back up at $1 billion, back down a little over $500 million, 24-hour volume in the double to triple-digit millions. You can see your top tokens. You can sort by 24-hour volume or total liquidity. You can see the obvious ones. Wrapped Pulse, interesting. It has to be wrapped as a PRC20 because the Pulse itself, native token, probably not a PRC20, so it needs to be wrapped to interact with DeFi. Makes sense. Similar to wrapped ETH, right? You have your PulseX, your USDC, your HEX, your Pulse Doge, your PRT, your Pulse Reward Token, or your party token, whatever you want to call it. PulseX Reward Token or party token. You have Mintra, which we'll talk about as well. You have the Secura token, Hedron, Tether. You can go on the list. We have a burn tab now, apparently. Cool. So what can you see here? Total PLSX burned. I love it. 8.25 billion burned with a nice little fire emoji. Freaking love it. A USD value in this pair. So is this the USD value burned? Or are these LPs to burn? Oh, because this is going to be a public contract, isn't it? Interesting. Or excuse me, a public function. Huh. Very interesting. So I see. So this is the USD amount ready to be burned, I believe. I think. Let's try this. So, okay, so apparently this is a Pulse USDC position, liquidity position. So you select an LP to buy and burn PulseX. Why do you select an LP though? I don't know. Let's burn. Does it not work yet? Huh. I don't think it works yet. This would burn almost 1 million PulseX. Select the USD value, or do you need to pay for it or something? I'm trying to figure out how this works. I don't know. This is interesting. I'll have to learn how this works because this was just added. This is really interesting. So you find an LP to burn, you select it, and then you just hit burn. And so very interesting. Huh. Let me get to chat, see if you guys know what's up. Great point. Onboarding new users. Hell yeah. Bro, you just took my mind a whole different level of finance. I never seen so much good, benevolent, free help for community members. Well, then you'll be excited for what's coming with the hex staking. But I appreciate the nice comment, man. Thank you. This is a weird question. Had a stake the other day. Had a stake end the other day. If I run the good accounting, will I get a copy of the fork? Yeah, it'll be fine. You'll just have hex sitting in limbo. Right. When you do get accounting for that's what I call it, hex sitting in limbo. Because your shares are burned, you're not diluting the pool, you're not getting penalized, but you haven't minted your hex, it doesn't exist yet. So your hex is like just waiting to be minted. And over on PulseChain, after the fork, it'll just be waiting to be minted there too. So you can just mint whenever you want on 2 separate chains. Stream with Joe, that'd be fun. What's up, Sandy? Welcome in. Catch up on the stream. You just coming in. Jim Rat, my man. Let's fucking go. Miss you, brother. Yo, my man. What's up? Hope everyone's great. Next time you're free in the morning. Yeah, I watch your show in the morning sometimes. It's nice to just wake up and caffeinate and watch your shows. If I'm on enough, I'll definitely hop on, man. Sack from Mintra, nice. LS, will there be a live testnet V2B? Yeah, either V2B or V3, one of the two. Thank you, Davis, for the $5 super chat. Can you make a video walking us step by step through creating a way to personally provide PLS, PLSX ratio trading option? Like 1121 and so on. Not sure what you mean by ratio trading option, but yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, you allocate your Pulse and PulseX accordingly. Everyone has a different strategy. I have no idea what's going to happen, so I can't make a strategy based around. I guess I can say my positions in Pulse and PulseX are roughly the same, right? Stacked roughly the same, positions roughly the same. I'm good with that. It's fine. Yeah. I think that's all you're gonna get from me in that regard. But thank you for the super chat. Forgot to mention pre-bridge. Oh yeah, gotta mention the bridge. But actually, let me touch on this a little more. Will there be a live testnet V2B Mintra to play with? Yeah, like I said, we want to deploy pretty much ASAP. So I'll get to that. Because I want to go in order, right? We're almost done with PulseX. Next is Mintra. We'll get to that. 1 second. So close. The burn button is new today. Didn't know we can manually burn. I don't understand the manual burn. Yeah, I'm sure Richard will go on stream and explain it, and hopefully the burn function will work in the future. But yeah, it'll be fun to learn. I'm glad it's a public function too. Glad to see you too, Tex Hex. Yeah, this isn't pre-recorded. This is live. give us your test address so we can send you more pulse. All good. No worries. This is a good question. I'm assuming the T-share rate in HEX will be the same as ETH network. Yes, to start. So right now, whatever the T-share rate is about 21,000 HEX per T-share. At the fork, it'll be the same. But right at the moment where staking behavior on both chains becomes different because they'll become independent chains, that's when things can do their own thing. So it'll be interesting watching the share rate on two different chains and daily payout per T-share and APY. Like all of these staking metrics will be different. I'm here for the Lambo, says Joe. Partly, same. I feel you. These prices look semi-realistic for some. Let me, does it work? Nope. Oh, it wants to do something. Confirm. Let's burn, baby, burn. Reject, reject all. I just had a bunch of backed up transactions. My bad. It's funny. So yeah, we're gonna burn, I guess. Video is blurry, is it? You're the only one who said that, and I've been live for like almost an hour. Wrapped pulse is weird. I mean, it's just because ERC20 to ERC20 swaps are easier when your contracts just deal in ERC20s, but PLS itself is not in ERC20. So you just turn it, you create a token called wrapped PLS, which is a representation of PLS, and it's only where you lock PLS. Like let's say you lock one PLS and it issues one wrapped PLS. And if you give the contract a wrapped PLS, it burns it and gives you back your PLS. So it's just like a placeholder, so to speak, one-to-one, but it's the same thing. It's not the exact same thing, but it's a good enough placeholder. I mean, it works for wrapped Bitcoin, so and wrapped Ethereum. Burn it. Wait, did we burn it? I don't even know. I rejected the transaction, I believe. Let's see if it works. Or maybe someone else is doing it right now. Maybe I need to reload the page. But I do want to get back to chat. Anything happen? I didn't get a nice little receipt. Huh. I don't think anything happened. Let's reload the page. If that position is gone, then I think we did it. Yeah, the position is lower now, right? USD value used to be like 700. Now it's like $98. Yeah, I think we did burn some PulseX. Cool. 8.27 billion burned. Very nice. Refreshing should be good. Yeah. I figured that out eventually. Up the rate, 720, please. By the way, yeah, I was doing the live stream with Staker app last Sunday, and I thought something was off. I was like, why do I look like 360p, 480p? Turns out I was. When I went to my StreamYard settings pre this stream, I realized I was at 480p. So 720p was the move. And then I realized I could do a 7-day free trial for 1080p. We got the trial. So this should be 1080, minimum 720. What is buy and burn? What's the point? Well, when you take supply off the market and then you have it just basically, so you buy up supply, so price goes up, and then you burn the supply so it can never be sold. So it's a permanent price go up. So it's basically like a baseline demand. You could model it as a baseline demand, honestly, which is really cool. Because something that technically doesn't have a baseline demand, which is things like crypto, to be completely honest, things like Bitcoin, it is just greater fool theory. Whenever you do this gamification, pumpamental type stuff, where you basically bake in something you could directly model as baseline demand, boom. I think it's great. Do you think it'd be nice feature to add HEX and Pulse price next to the PLSX on top? I'm not sure where you're talking about. To add the price. I mean, the price is if you go to info. Are you talking about on LookIntoHex.com? Yeah, not sure what you're talking about. 100 likes, let's go. Well, there are 200 of you in the thing watching, which awesome. Great numbers, by the way. Thank you. I think liking helps the channel. I don't think it hurts. Might as well. Would appreciate if you want. It did do a burn transaction for me, but now it's doing what it's doing for you, not working. Yeah, well, if you refresh, it might work. When PulseChain start, April, May? I think soon, man. I think April, but that's just me. Buy and burn works, cool. Hype for Mintra. Yeah, let's talk about Mintra. So for everyone who's just here for HEX, PulseX, covered that, rewind, rewatch. If you want to know about Mintra, I will get to that in about 2 minutes once I cover remainder of the chat. Oh, what are you getting out of buy and burn? I don't think you're getting anything out of it. I think it's just a public function you can call because, well, if you hold PulseX, you're basically buying PulseX and burning it. So if you hold PulseX, that's your incentive. Do I think delegating Pulse will be more or less reward than staking liquid loan? I have no idea. It'll be interesting to see these APYs. Hopefully they all have APY dashboards where you can actually see and compare APYs. But then again, you have to normalize and denominate all of them in a common base, whether that's US, whatever you're trying to accumulate will be your common base. So that might be USD for you. It might be Pulse, right? That might be your common base if your long-term goal is just accumulate Pulse. So you choose a common base, you denominate APY of all of these projects, which is variable. Think about that too. So you denominate APY and you just run the numbers, man. Would be cool to see on some of these sites, right? There won't be a lack of work to do once all these new coins come out. Hit the like. Thank you, VinRX. Appreciate you. The lightsaber in the background is dope. Thanks. Looks like the rocket ship we're about to board and head straight to Mad Gains. Nice. Yeah, it's called a corner lights. I got it off Amazon. You can choose different color settings. That's my favorite because it's the pulse color setting roughly because you have your blue, your purple, your pink kind of pulse colors. You get it. And they're high vibe colors too, which is nice. Let's see. You're not. Let me read the chat. I think I'm caught up. Sup Hexicans, sup Gerardo, fresh taco. That's a funny profile picture. Interesting. Nice. What's up? Cool. So let's get into a little more to talk about. If you go to PulseChain.com, we got all of our cool stuff. What did we look at? At our faucet, we traded. We haven't looked at our bridge. We haven't looked at staking Pulse for the consensus network. And we haven't looked at our block explorer. So again, our block explorer is being indexed. That just means the data is not all up to date. Only about 12% of it is. I would hope it's working like front loaded, like recent stuff first, and then doing like back in history. Because arguably the recent stuff matters most, even though it all matters in the blockchain, right? The chain length, the history of it. But you would want people to be able to use it now and then just kind of let this index over time. Who knows? Hopefully it's faster, or I don't even know if it's necessary. Like minimum viable for launch is having a fully indexed block explorer because it'll index over time anyways. Interesting thought. Anyways, if you go to stakes on, again, PulseChain.com and you go to staking, it'll take you to this. This link is where you can stake your Pulse, and it's arguably like a single asset staking. So it's staking native to the Pulse protocol, right? And this is completely separate from PulseX. So PulseX staking is volume based. It's purely based on DEX volume. However, Pulse staking, PLS staking via this link, is more similar to staking would be like ETH and ETH 2.0, even though it doesn't exist yet, but it would be more similar to something like that, where you stake the native asset so that consensus can work. I won't get too deep into it, right? But if you go to validators, Click on validators. You can see all of the validators in rotation. So your top 33 validators will be in rotation. And you can see here their level of, or whether they're in rotation or not. Yes, green, cool. Their number of misdemeanors, felonies, and how much percent of the fees that they earn are they sharing with their stakers, and how much staking power they have, whether it's their own stake or that plus what has been staked from other stakers that want to join that. It's not necessarily a pool, but they join that validator. That's what you would call it, right? So again, 50%, 50%, 33, 100, cool. So if you stake with this guy, you get all of the fees basically, but he has some misdemeanors, some felonies. So you keep scrolling up to, the top guys. You have Hodl Dog here, cool. Total stake of 43 billion pulse. You have the top guy at 54 billion pulse. It's a lot of pulse. And the cool thing is that you're not actually giving your keys to these people. You're just interacting with a contract that more or less mediates between the staker, the one who's delegating their stake, and the one who's the validator, the one who's getting people's stakes and accumulating the staking power and having basically enough skin in the game to mine the correct blocks. And obviously these guys have good hardware too. So let's do HODL Dog, right? And let's just add here. So you can see total delegated staked HODL Dog, how much it's increased probably in the past 24 hours, how much of it is pending, total rewards earned. Very cool. 10 pulse. It's not a lot. And total pulse staked. Oh, that makes sense because as fees are low, pulse staking APY will probably be low. But if pulse price runs up, then do you count that in your APY? Again, you have to denominate it in USD or pulse. So in pulse terms, it might be small, but if it does a crazy run up, maybe you will have wanted to accumulate pulse in the early days. It'll be interesting to see. So let's add, how much do we have? We have about 4 pulse left. Let's give him 3. So we have 1. I need a minimum amount of pulse. Whoops, we're too poor for HODL Dog's for his node. But you get the idea. You would pretty much hit plus. You would put an amount of pulse. You would do confirm, and it would enter this pending amount probably. And then over time, it would probably be added to the actual total delegated stake. You would earn, it shows here, 90% of the fees that he earns. And very cool relative to, so 90% times your share of the pool times actual fee market. So very cool. You can register a new validator, look at your active stakes, and so on. What else can we look at? The bridge. The bridge. So let's see. Let's say we want to bridge 1 pulse from PulseChain test from Pulse to Ethereum. So here's something interesting. You have your native Ethereum, you have your native Pulse, 2 separate chains. Then you have these wrapped coins that come over from other chains but exist on your chain. So for example, you have wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, and you'll have something similar which could be interpreted as a wrapped Pulse on Ethereum. Different chain, but you can speculate on the price of Pulse on the Ethereum blockchain, which I don't know why anyone would do that. Right? Speculate on an abstraction of the native asset on a more expensive network. No thanks. But you can also do the other way around, which I could understand because it's the opposite. Let's say you wanted to speculate on the Ethereum price, but didn't want to do crazy gas fees. Then you could speculate on ETH, which would be Ethereum bridged in from the Ethereum network, so Ether, onto PulseChain. So the E is to denote where it came from, because you'd be on PulseChain, and it would be ETH, meaning this ETH came from Ethereum. Again, you could call it a sort of wrapped Ethereum. It would be basically a single level of abstraction of value on top of Ethereum. So point being, on this bridge, pulseramp.com, you could take, for example, 1 pulse and receive 0.999 p-pulse. Sounds funny. On the other side, on Ethereum. And the bridge fee is 0.1%. So they take, 1,000th of whatever coin you're giving, which is fine. It's a little platform fee. You just send it. So click send to begin transfer. Confirm. So I'm sending one pulse from PulseChain to Ethereum. And these are testnets, so we're doing PulseChain testnet 2B to Rinkeby testnet on Ethereum. But this is a simulation of what it'll be like, right? To bridge over tokens. And it'll be the other direction. For example, if you want to bridge in your Ethereum hex, your hex that you currently have that currently exists, if you want to bridge that into PulseChain, it'll be this, just in the other direction. Let's say you want to bridge in, I don't know, 10,000 hex. You have 10,000 hex, you go here, you're on the Ethereum network, you hit 10,000 hex, it'll take 1,000th of that. So what? It'll take 10 hex as a fee, and it'll give you EHEX on the Pulse network. There you go. And then you'll probably be able to pair that with native PRC20 hex, which actually we haven't seen that on Pulse yet, on PulseX, I should say. Pretty interesting. I'd like to see that actually. Huh. Yeah, an interesting thought. But yeah, I don't know why this is taking a while. Click here to begin a new bridge. Send one. Not sure why it's taking so long. I've done this successfully before. Don't know why it's delayed. Let's reload. Transactions. Oh, cool. Rinkeby. So we can. Oh, it's ready. We can claim it on Rinkeby now. So we would just have to switch our switch network to Rinkeby, and then I think we can just hit claim. Luckily, I have some Rinkeby test Ethereum, and then it should pop up. Let me get chat real quick while that loads. Things are about to get real when PulseChain is released. Oh yeah, most definitely. Oh, you do get rewarded PulseX for burning? That's cool too. I didn't know that. I'll have to confirm that. I didn't know that. I don't know all the TA stuff. Happy to help with stuff like that. I do. Help however you can. Oh, that and how the pools work? Yeah. That stuff is fun and pretty not self-explanatory, but very like logical and less speculative. Just like pool mechanics and DEX mechanics. I've made a stupid amount on the one-sided PulseX staking. Yeah, I feel that. Just getting that PRT. Definitely want to talk about the downsides of LPing impermanent loss. Definitely. You can lose a ton of a coin. I should talk about that actually, let's say you provide Pulse USDC liquidity and Pulse does 1,000x versus USDC, then you will have, let's say it does 100x versus USDC, then I think you'll have basically a similar amount that you started with in terms of funds, but you'll have way less Pulse, the one that ran up against the other. You'll have way less of it and you'll have way more of the other one. So you would have been better off just holding the Pulse instead of providing liquidity versus something. So because of that, providing liquidity and staking that liquidity in farms does carry risk. I will point that out, in that the ratio of your coins changes. So what you put in isn't always what you pull out in terms of how many coins on each side. And so for that reason, something safer arguably will be native Pulse staking, like I showed you with validators. A single asset staking, so just putting PulseX and getting a separate token. So there's no ratio there, right? Because you don't have any pair, you just have a single asset. Or HEX staking, so single asset staking. So basically, single asset staking is arguably safer because you're just staking HEX, or you're just staking Pulse, or you're just staking PulseX and getting either HEX, Pulse, or PRT as yield. And there's no pair involved. Yeah, there you go. Tested for giggles and lost around 5 million Pulse and impermanent loss. There you go. In a day. Yep. The bridge will support more than just Ethereum. I hope so. Yeah, EHEX would only be used for liquidity pairing because you can only stake native hex. Correct. When you create an abstraction of a coin, like a wrapped Bitcoin or a wrapped Ethereum or a wrapped hex, you know, these EHEX, these are different contracts than the original one, and therefore, since the hex staking contract only accepts that native address, it'll be like, yo, this is different. This isn't hex. So yeah. So on Pulse, you will only be able to stake native PRC20 hex, and on Ethereum, you can only stake native ERC20 hex. So you can only stake them, right? Even if you bridge it over, it's not stakeable there just because you bridged it over. Agreed, Ninja Chopstick. I do say that it would be safer to just go single-sided PulseX staking, get PRT. Yeah, you could buy more PLX with that PRT. Yeah, you could do that. Can you swap PulseX for USDC day one? Probably. Would be my guess. Yeah, that'd be my guess. Cool. So it looks like we claimed our PPLS on the Rinkeby side. Very cool. And so you could, again, I don't know why you'd want to do that. You'd probably want to do it in the other direction and go from Ethereum to PulseChain, because now we're in a higher fee environment, which is just silly. But just to show you how the bridge works, you can bridge different coins, Pulse, HEX, USDC, USDT, Ethereum, and so on. So like I was mentioning earlier, ETH to ETH. So showed you how the bridge worked, showed you how native PulseChain consensus staking worked, showed you the block explorer a little bit. You can play around with it, look at your address, see what tokens you hold, showed you the faucet, showed you PulseX. There's actually something in PulseX that I want to show you guys that no one's talked about, and that is the DAO, right? It's probably not ready yet, but wait, how come I'm not connected? Oh, Switch Network. Yeah, we were on Rinkeby. So there is no tab for it yet, but if you go to the /info and just do voting, uh, you guys should go overload this tab now. But check it out. Have your say in the future of the PulseX ecosystem. You can make a proposal, look at core proposals, vote now, soon closed, community, vote now, soon closed, or all no proposals found. And you have this second tab. Let's see, community proposals are a great way to see how the community feels about your ideas. They won't necessarily be implemented, but if the community votes successful, but suggestions with a lot of community support may be made into core proposals. So let's make a proposal. Let's say, what should we propose, guys? Let me look at the chat. And you need some voting power to make a proposal. So I don't think we'll be able to. But let's just say, what should the title of our proposal be? Launch PulseX on 420, or launch PulseChain on 420. But nice. Yeah, I think this is the first time anyone's seeing this publicly. Or I have a better one actually. Create hex EHEX farm. Would love to see a new farm in the farms tab that allows users to pair hex with bridged in EHEX. And earn, let's see. Cool. So then you would do like yes for choices, no, add more choices if you want, start date, tomorrow, whatever, end date. I don't know, give it like month. Cool. You need voting power, so you check your voting power. Interesting. Interesting. Your voting power is determined by the amount of PulseX you held at the block detailed below. PulseX held in other places does not contribute to your voting power. Your voting power, 0. Nice. how much PulseX you hold, how much PulseX LP, just liquidity, and how much of that you've staked in the farm, and then how much you've single asset staked your PulseX. This is interesting, right? And potentially even more incentives to either provide liquidity, stake, or farm, or even just hold would be voting power. Interesting metric, right? Proposal, be able to add liquidity at any different ratio, 1 pulse for 10 pulse. Well, no, then you get into V3 type stuff, because this is like a V2 model, right? PulseX. So that's how AMMs work. So you're talking about single-sided liquidity provisions. You're talking more like Uniswap V3 synthetic limit orders, right? So Richard stated that PRT might be the PLSX reward token. Yeah, it is. So I'm a little unsure if it's a placeholder solely. I mean, whatever it's called, man, that's the mechanics are basically what you're seeing. The incentive token is for liquidity providers, though, right? The incentive token is for those who stake their liquidity position. So not only have they provided liquidity, but they've staked it in a specific farm. And the farms you see now that exist are Pulse with PulseX, Pulse with USDC, and PRT with Pulse. Toby1, G Dog, what's up, bro? What's up, Toby1? I'm just schooling on this new tab that I don't think anyone's seen yet. It's the /voting, and then you can click on a bunch of stuff and show people how to make a proposal, which I think is really cool. But yeah, this is going to be a cool thing. Probably once it's ready and the whole voting power thing is ready, and the block, that was interesting to me how it said your voting power is determined by the amount of PulseX you held at the block detailed below. So there's going to be some sort of snapshot after PulseChain is live already. So like a PulseChain snapshot, maybe? Or is it an amount of Genesis PulseX that you hold? I don't know. It'll be interesting. If it's just block 0, like first block, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, very, very cool. I'm excited to see that pop up here as another tab potentially. I'm sure, right? You never know how many subfolders exist really in the directory of the site. I was kind of lucky to find this voting one, but go spread it, go share it. New stuff to talk about, right? That's always nice. So now I think we can talk about Mintra. Is it true that PulseX sacrifice to get Pulse Doge? If you sack for Mintra 2, you get double? I don't know. Ask the Pulse Doge guys. I think so. Something like that. Good for them. So, as you guys know, I was a huge part of, or am a huge part of Mintra. Mintra being the greenest NFT marketplace because it's launching on PulseChain, right? Piggybacking on the PulseChain green narrative, and the sacrifice phase is over. And about $10 million was sacrificed for a green, sustainable future for blockchains. But that's not what I'm trying to get at now. I'm trying to get at some cool developments like this sacrifice balance checker. So again, if you were here for HEX, Pulse, PulseX, we covered all of that in the last hour or so. If you're still here to support and check out the Mintra stuff, stick around if you, again, are interested. If not, I won't be offended. But yeah, let's talk about the sacrificers and how much mint they're getting. So the top sacrificer, Godwill, 4 million USD, 400 million points, because 100 points per USD equivalent. And they got that nice 2.5x multiplier for a total of 1 billion coins. So they'll have roughly 20-ish% of the supply. Very nice. Followed up by, yeah, so you have 3,005 total unique wallets that sacrificed. And you can see this on lead.mintra.info. So you can check, or you can just go to user details, type in your specific address and see, type in your specific address and your address pops up with how many unique sacrifice events, what you sacrificed, the dollar value, what time it happened, how many points you got, how many coins you're getting, which chain, the transaction link, etc. So yeah, go check that out if you want to see your sacrifice balances for Mintra, for your mint tokens, for your valueless mint tokens, which will be airdropped to you after PulseChain launches. And some further developments, this has been tweeted already on the official whatchamacallit, the official I'm blanking here, the Mintra Twitter. Let me actually pull it up. Let me find that for you guys. Just some of the staking UI I want to share with you. I think this tweet went really well. It performed really well. Check it out. Talking about this. Here's a teaser. And this is pretty much more or less what the staking dashboard is looking like so far. So the whole idea of Mintra is cool. You have this NFT marketplace. You have this OpenSea competitor on PulseChain. Early first mover advantage. If OpenSea launches and deploys on PulseChain, cool. They're bringing over a ton of targeted NFT users to our playground. And you know what that means? It means potentially something like OpenSea being the top gas guzzler on Ethereum, something like Mintra being the top gas guzzler on PulseChain. And you know what transactions and gas guzzling does on PulseChain. It'll burn fees. And that's what we want to see. We want to see Pulse be adopted, right? And have cool use cases, things people want to use. And so not only that, but then you have this sort of house play, which you don't even need to touch the NFTs if you don't want, but you could still, similar to PulseX, right? You don't have to swap coins if you never want to, but you can provide liquidity to earn fees on the swappers. Similarly, in Mintra, you can stake your mint to earn fees on the people selling and buying NFTs. Similar model. So it's a play on volume, whether it's a play on volume on swaps or a play on volume on NFTs. Now you have both options. So this is going to be the staking dashboard where you can stake your mint, you can unstake it, you can pull your Pulse rewards. So similar to, if you add or remove to your stake, there's no time aspect to it, but if you add or remove to it, it automatically pulls your rewards, which can be pulled at any time. You have this sort of wallet block, which shows your total wallet value denominated in USD, total rewards in Pulse, because the fees are denominated in PLS. So you're staking Mint and receiving PLS because Mint is deflationary. The supply is 4.7 billion roughly, and will only decline from there. So this will show you your rewards balance, your stake balance, your available balance, maybe a nice widget here for price, and your global stats obviously are important, like your price, supply, staked supply and percentage, and your APY. So boom, just wanted to share that with y'all. And yeah, so a lot of cool things happening, man. Like HEX crushing it, LookIntoHex new charts, new staking front end soon. Mintra developments are looking good. This is done. The CSS code for this is done. Passed on to our lead dev. So he's going to connect all the buttons, connect to the contracts, which are also done. So hopefully in about a week or so, kind of racing against PulseChain Testnet v3. Because in a week, if we're still just hanging out and playing on V2B, we're going to deploy this on V2B. If we've already moved on to V3, we'll deploy this on V3. So people can play around with it. Because if you check your wallets, right? Scroll up here, actually. Where is that tweet? Boom, boom. There's this tweet which you can look at, which is, check your wallets, because the airdrop, according to this spreadsheet, right, has been deployed on PulseChain Testnet v2b. So if you go ahead and check, right, if this guy checks his address, he'll see he has this. This guy checks his address, he'll see he has this, and so on. And the token contract address is in the official Twitter, twitter.com/Mintra.io. To copy and paste into your MetaMask, you can import this token address, and you should see your balance. So that's pretty much it, I think. The first beta for the marketplace, I think we're going to stick with that first one. The second one is it's not better by orders of magnitude. It's barely, it's arguably the same. and it's just kind of slower progress on that end. So we might stick with the first beta, but the staking side of things is looking great, right? The token side of things, staking could be done in the next 2 weeks, and the marketplace stuff might take a bit longer, but we're working on that, and it's looking good. There's progress being made, so hopefully we're ready, right, for when PulseChain launches to launch shortly after. Any thoughts on the HEX price performance prior to the PulseChain launch? Will the run up that we all expect happen, or will it be different because everyone expects it? I have no idea. Does everyone expect it? I wanted to pull yeah, just leave this kind of in the background. I don't know if everyone expects it. Smash the like button right on. Appreciate. Cool. So I think I'm all caught up with chat. I think I talked about, bro, we talked about HEX, Ethereum, Bitcoin, LookIntoHex, PulseX, Testnet, PulseChain, right? PulseX swaps, liquidity, pools, farms, info, burn, voting. Talked about PulseChain, Testnet, Bridge, Block Explorer, faucets. Did we miss anything? Oh, there's a sacrifice balance checker for Pulse and PulseX, which you can check on pulsechain.com. It's the last link here. Sacrifice balance checker takes you here. You paste your address, shows you your Pulse credits, PulseX credits, and you can check different versions that have been launched. The latest one's probably the one you want to check, obviously. And yeah, I think we covered everything. We covered Mintra, sacrifice, balances tool, and the nice UI coming along. Sort of a short-term chart, degen chart. Look at my notes. But thank you guys for sticking around. It's a pleasure as per usual. Yeah, I think we talked about everything. So how to buy Mintra when PulseChain launches on PulseX, right? You just go to exchange, PulseX, switch it to Mint right here, right? Let's say I want to swap one Pulse for a Mint. Cool. Let's do 2. Swap, confirm. And boom. Just bought some Mint right live here for you. Just spent more than half of my Pulse stack. My Pulse. Oh, failed receipt. Let's do one. Let's see if it works. There you go. Boom. Let's go. We have some Mint 0.005. Let's go to info, see how much it is. Number 7. Nice. In volume, liquidity. Go to it. Here's your volume: 3 mil, 4 mil, 14 mil, 7 mil, 8 mil. Liquidity oscillating. Nice. 8 mil. Pretty interesting price chart. Started low, ran up. $1.50, $1.50, $1.50. It's like a sine wave. It's funny. Yeah, you can see your pools here. But yeah, I just bought some Mint there live for you. Thank you. Great stream. Appreciate it. Thanks. PulseChain balance checker not working with 1.75x bonus. Oof. Well, hope they fix that. I have to double check mine on there too. Yeah. So I think that was a good stream. An hour, 24 minutes. Not bad. Covered everything I wanted to cover. I feel like I didn't waste too much of you guys' time. I think I answered most of your questions. I'm all caught up with chat. A lot of cool things coming, right? Not everything's great out there, but there are some things that are going on that are pretty cool. I think Hex is pretty cool. Pulse is pretty cool. PulseX is pretty cool. Mintra is pretty cool. Hedron's kind of cool. Being able to stream on YouTube and not getting your channel deleted is kind of cool. So hopefully K4K, one of our community streamers who talks about Hex, PulseX, Great content, right? Let's get his channel back on Twitter. Retweet if you can. Whenever we reach out to at YouTube creators, even the CEO, Suzanne, I forget how you pronounce her last name. But yeah, let's help, get K4K's channel back. Yeah, good chat. LookIntoHex.com. Check it out. Cool new stuff coming soon. Appreciate your time here. It was cool live streaming again and catching up. I had been wanting to live stream again for so long. So I'm really glad I've been able to talk to you guys. It was fun. All right. Catch you guys in the next stream. Have a good night.